Good afternoon. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Catherine Hyde, and I'm speaking in support of SB212. I am parent to an 18-year-old trans child, and I serve as transgender coordinator for PFLAG in this area. I'm speaking on behalf of 30 parents in the area with transgender children ages 3 to 28. Because they are transgender, our children are being harassed at school and on the streets, forced to live off campus, threatened with expulsion, and fired from their jobs. Last year, one of our children was raped. Too many of our children are suicidal because they are transgender. Very few people understand transgender. I get that. I lived with my own transgender child for 15 years without understanding what it was. But ignorance is not benign. When our 4-year-old son wanted tutus and Barbie dolls, a psychologist who did not understand gender encouraged us to allow only boy toys and clothing, supposedly helping the child. 2 years later, our 6-year-old was threatening suicide. Suicidal ideation in young trans children is common. In fact, trans people, as you've heard, attempt suicide at 25 times the norm. So back to a therapist we went who diagnosed depression and anxiety, understandable since we had been shaming this child for being herself. You see, gender identity is not transient. It is not something that pops up one morning. It is with us our entire lives. But again, no one educated us on gender, and we did not stop the shaming. You see, ignorance is harmful. My child was 15 when a story on NPR taught me what transgender means and how it can manifest in even very young children. Our child transitioned in 10th grade and her depression and anxiety steadily lifted, but the harassment at school did not. Students regularly called my child pervert and freak, and though her friends stuck up for her, only one adult ever intervened. The harassment culminated when a police officer humiliated my child in front of the entire senior class because he didn't understand transgender. When an authority figure openly mocks trans people, what license does that give to the students who are already bullying my kid? Ignorance is dangerous. Transgender people are disproportionately targeted for violence. In one study of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender population, trans people accounted for 40% of the police-initiated violence and 20% of its murder victims. Imagine if this were your child. Ignorance is deadly. In our everyday lives, our kids are pretty mainstream. They go to school, they play with friends, and our issues with them are mostly about things completely unrelated to their gender identity. Clean your room, do your homework. And we want for our kids what all parents want for their kids, that they be safe, happy, healthy, and have productive jobs so they can move out of our house. My kid is lucky. Last year, Howard County, where we live, passed protections. And just a few weeks ago, Baltimore County, where she goes to Towson now, passed protections. Now we need statewide protections for the kids across Maryland who are not so lucky. We need this legislation because it engenders education and reduces ignorance, which will help our kids stay safe and allow them to grow into the productive members of society that we all want them to be.
Thank you very much. Senator Raskin has a question.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Thank you for your testimony and your activism on this. Where do you live?
I live in Howard County.
Okay. And you talked a lot about public misunderstanding or ignorance about it, and I think we all share in that ignorance. What was your understanding or education about this before you were confronted with the family situation?
Even when my child was 3, when she told me that something had gone wrong in my belly and she was not supposed to be a boy, she was supposed to be a girl, and I said, and I have to say in my defense, guys, there was no Google when I said this, okay? I said, I've seen your parts, no, you're a boy, and we took away the Barbie dolls and we took away the tutu, and I thought this was something that perverted people did to themselves. I did not understand that this is the way God makes us. Our children, our sisters, our parents, this is the way it is baked in the DNA, it is built in the cake, it is not a momentary thought, it is certainly not a decision. My child has said to me many times, my God, Mom, I would give anything to not be a trans girl.
And just tell us, what would you like to see in your daughter's life, and how does that relate to the legislation?
I want my kid to be accepted for who she is. I want her to not be called names. I want her to have a safe place to live at Towson. Currently, there's no safe housing for her. I want her to have the same opportunity to grow and be a beautiful young person as everybody else does. Just the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.